So, all right, good morning, everybody, and happy Easter. I got Colin with me. Colin was with me on, what do we do this? On Thursday morning for the first time on Orioles opening day. So I'll reintroduce Colin in a second because Colin's going to be here to help with golf. Kind of a wild story on how he got on board, but we'll touch on that in a second. I got to spend a couple minutes. I hate what happened with Clemson yesterday. I almost wish they just would have lost by 10, 15 points and played the way they did for the majority of the game instead of what they did for the first 8 or 9 minutes, because they're like played exactly the way I'm sure the coach wanted them to play, the way I thought they would play. They're up 26-13, doing exactly what they want to do. And they let the first half get away from them. And next thing you know, Alabama's just three after three after three. And it turns into a 50-50 game. And it's incredibly frustrating because the right play yesterday was to live bet Alabama. Like when you go back and you look in a game and you're like, all right, what was the best play that you possibly could have made? And it's like, well, if Clemson's up by all those points, at some point it's like Alabama's +6, like +5, I think was someone texted me and told me they got a +6. But when I look back, +5 at some point when they were up 13 is what I had on my site. And so that's the thing I'm most frustrated about is I hate hedging. And Colin just told me a crazy story about a guy who hedged his home run props last night. And it's like this nonstop battle when you feel like you're right about something. Do you want to hedge? And yesterday, the right move was to hedge because Alabama got hot, and then it turned into whether or not Clemson's going to cover 4 points. It's a 50-50 game, and just on the wrong side of it. There's no other way to explain it. Go through each play and talk about Clemson not making their free throws and just a couple things not going our way, but that's a 50-50 game. It wasn't a 50-50 game when they're up by 13. And so that's the thing I'm most frustrated about is I should have said, hey, right now is a good idea to hedge your bet, live bet it, because Clemson's probably not going to blow them out. But then at the same time, it was like, man, Clemson looked so good those first 7-8 minutes. They got everything they wanted. They had Nelson in foul trouble. And that's why I was like, I don't want to hedge it because Nelson's in foul trouble. But anyway, just shut up because it's over with and we got to move towards the positives. And then, yeah, Connecticut goes on a 30-0 run. Illinois decides to play dead. So Connecticut would have been happy to score 150 points if Illinois would just do their part. But instead, Illinois can't score. So Illinois just ruins my week on so many fronts. All right, Colin, thanks for being patient for my rant. Let's help some people here with golf because we're transitioning the company. So give me a quick minute here to reintroduce you. Colin's been a subscriber at the end of September, jumped on in football season and experienced what anybody experienced that's been here, which was nothing helpful, frankly. Losing bets, lots of bets, volume bets, incoherent messaging. And it got to a point where obviously I had to make a change, and that's why things have changed. Colin called me and was like, yeah, I think I need to cancel my membership. I'm not really sure what's going on. We had a conversation for a minute or two. Turns into Colin had mentioned that he's basically a golf expert. It's what he does for a living. He fits people for clubs, and he would love an opportunity to talk golf and help people. And next thing you know, here we are. And we had, like I said, we had the podcast on Thursday. We'll have them from now on, though, on Wednesdays because the tournaments start super early on Thursday mornings. So we're going to do our podcast on Wednesday and then a podcast on Sunday morning. And then, and the main reason for that is, go ahead, Colin, right? You handicap the tournaments before they start. So you have your pre-tournament bets, and then you watch the first 3 rounds, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And then feels like you're ready to bet on Sunday on the final round. I got that about right?
Yeah, basically. I mean, it's kind of the theory around it. I guess the picks I gave out earlier this week, I mean, I guess Keith Mitchell didn't make the cut, so that was a wash. That was brutal. I was watching that live because he was in a live group like on ESPN Plus, and I think 3 of the last 2 holes he bogeyed to miss the cut by 1. And then Zalatoris is in a position maybe to make a run today. He hasn't gone low yet, so it's like he could be somebody that goes low today. But Alex Noren, the other guy, gave out for top 20. He's already top 16 right now, and typically he plays better Saturday, Sunday anyway. So it's like he's probably somebody that should position where we want. But I was shocked. I was talking to a couple people yesterday just about with Scheffler this week, and I couldn't believe right now he's still plus money for winner or to win today, and he's tied with shouldn't say no names, but when you're comparing yourself to the number one player in the world and you're outside of the top 100, you're kind of in that bubble, so to speak. And a lot of these guys have never even won on the PGA Tour. So right now, I don't know how and why he's plus money. I've been looking at numbers, and I'm like, Scotty really hasn't had an off day this week, so to speak. He shot par on Friday, and that was a little brutal because he four putted from like, or he three putted from like 4 feet. So I mean, he's had a couple little like hiccups, but even when he has a so-called hiccup, it's nowhere near what other guys are struggling with. So
He's tied for the leaderboard right now, but you're saying it's still plus. What did you say? Plus 140.
plus 150.
Plus 150.
So my logic today is probably either putting like $50 to 100 somewhere in that range on him. I wouldn't even want to live bet it just because I'm pretty confident either the first or second hole he's going to birdie. These other guys are either going to par or bogey, and then the odds, like all of a sudden, it's like one or two holes in, he's minus 400, and it's basically like you're not going to find any value at that point. So,
is it fair to say that when you get to Sunday, the two bets that you're thinking about are, like you said, if you think Scheffler's going to win the tournament, no real value to just bet some other people to win the tournament when you get on Sunday. But what about the head-to-head matchups? At this point, you mentioned it. I want to make, because I'm learning on the fly here. I want to make sure I get it right. There's 2-ball, 3-ball matchups where the guys playing in the same group, there'll be odds on who will have a better round. Do you
yep.
feel like by the fourth round, that's almost the easiest bets for you to make? Because hell, they played the same course Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, right?
It can be, and Sunday right now, like especially with where the top of the leaderboard is, like the two guys Scheffler's playing with, that's probably a safe bet that you could bet him in the 3-ball format to win that match. The other one I was looking at too is Wyndham Clark, who's playing really good golf right now too. I think we talked about him a little bit on Thursday, but Wyndham Clark's in a group, same thing, where he's kind of with these two other guys that I'm like, I foresee him going low, and these other two guys just maybe struggling a little bit. And there's good value on that. It's kind of tricky with the 3 balls just because I like 2 balls better in this tournament for whatever reason. They're keeping everybody in a threesome. Normally on Saturday, Sunday they get into the 2 pair, like playing in pairs. So I don't know why this tournament they're keeping them in threesome. So I'm like, I don't really sometimes like that as much. But I think the value today is definitely betting on Scheffler. I mean, I can't believe it. I'm like, again, confused as to why he's plus 150 on
I was gonna say, play devil's advocate for me. Why do you? I mean, there's got to be some sort of reason, right? Like, what do you? If you had to make
I think it's people are like his putting, because that's the only knock on him right now. Is he does everything. It's not that he does it good. He does it better than everybody. He's the number one in basically every strokes gained category except for putting. And it's not like he's the worst putter, but he's definitely not he's not consistent with his putting. So his new putter has been great. I think he loves it. I mean, he's been confident in it. I mean, he had one little hiccup the other day with like a 3-putt from 4 feet, which that's like something you and I would do. It's humbling when you see it as a fan, but it's also
it almost makes you happy, right? When you finally see somebody like on TV do exactly what you did.
Oh yeah, and it's funny because it can happen, and it's literally when it happens to somebody like him, who's the number one player in the world. It's just like it's just crazy. So
we're gonna. So what I want to do, give everybody a little preview of how you're going to be the most valuable. So next week is the Valero Open, which is very similar to the Houston Open and similar to a handful of other tournaments where unless you're a golf guy, you don't know these tournaments. It's very hard to handicap them. It'll be the first time you find out where they're located. And some people, we're going to figure out what our audience wants and is interested in, but we're going to handicap every tournament. But what I think you can help the most, because the Masters is the following week, is we're going to go through a lot of these guys and get like your perspective on them. So because the because the tour has just started, we'll do like a nice preview next Wednesday on some of these top guys and get your thoughts on them on the upcoming tournaments and just your overall take on where golf's at. I think it'll be there. To me, there's a lot of interesting business conversations to be had about where golf is headed with the Live Tour, and I want to understand it more and figure out how we can make money on it. Because if you really think about betting, whether it's tennis or golf or individual prop bets in baseball, the lower amount of variables you have to analyze, so you don't have to sit there and figure out why Clemson can't get out on the stupid threes in the second half. It's like it's easier to bet that way. Like if you can understand one person, boxing, UFC. So I'm interested to transition this company into saying, you know what, when you're betting team sports, hell, it's really hard to find an advantage because there's so many variables to account for. So I think it's been a blessing in disguise that golf is going to be the first topic that we have like an expert, that somebody. So give me, if you don't mind, another minute or two in case people didn't hear on Thursday, and just to remind people why exactly you're qualified. You're not, because everybody likes to golf, everybody goes out there and has fun, pretending like they know what they're talking about. But what separates you? Give us a little background of why you're qualified here to help people.
So currently, I work in Owings Mills, Maryland, for Club Champion Golf. We are the largest national club fitting company, actually international company now. So 120 plus locations. I've been doing it for 5 years with this company, and then previously I was with PGA Tour Superstore down in Myrtle Beach, doing it there. So been doing golf fitting basically for the last like 6, 7 years. But really, just I'm around it all the time and get it from a good. I think I have a good perspective because I get it from the other side, where being a fitter and things like that, it's teachers, coaches kind of have they have their own philosophies and stuff that they do.
Mhm.
But it's just funny because the way that we really work, so I try to make their life easier, they try to make my life easier, type of thing. But when it comes to golf betting specifically, it's just, to me, I try to look at it from the outside in more perspective, and try to look at it as a broad thing. I don't know. A lot of people just get caught up in the best golfers, Rory, Scotty, and some
Mhm.
of these smaller tournaments. It's hard to handicap them, but waiting till Sunday, like we were talking about, is really where you get today, like the best feel for it, the best
You'll like
value.
to watch. You'll sit
Um,
there on the weekend and watch more golf than the average folk. Like you'll sit there and watch in order to be able, like, I don't want to say a golf nerd here, but I don't know how else to describe it because I can't sit there and watch four
you can
rounds
call
of golf throughout.
golf nerd, equipment junkie, heard it all. But no, I mean, at work, I literally have my tablet up all the time watching ESPN Plus. I'm definitely always tuned into it. So I mean, that's more or less when I definitely want to follow somebody. I just want to know that they're constantly kind of staying up to date and at least watching it, because that's when somebody, I don't know, it's just always weird with golf that somebody truly is watching a lot
Right.
of it, because it's hard to get a lot of coverage of golf. That's the problem, is like you really have to actually, it's probably the bad thing in golf we talked about a little bit on Thursday. It's so inclusive right now and almost exclusive to a term, to where like ESPN Plus, you got to pay to get some of this coverage. And
Mhm.
then there's limited 4 hour coverage for free, but it's like you don't, so it's really weird. And live golf, that's one of my, I think I've been betting probably a little bit better on live golf, just because it's every player, every shot. You can get basically everything right at your disposal when you're watching that. So
Would you say you're like when you where's the passion? Maybe that's just a simple way to say it. Where's the passion come from golf? Just curious exactly what got you into golf and what gets you so excited. Is there a way, do you like to be right? Because you were humbling yourself last time. So like you're not a professional, like that's not part of the dream. But what exactly is so fascinating about golf for you?
part of that, I guess, wanting to be right. And just seeing, I mean, again, just being around golf all the time, with work and everything, it seems funny because it's like, again, it's kind of like an outlet, betting on it a little bit, and just feels, I don't know, trying to, like you said, trying to be right. But I guess comes from growing up. I don't know, I've been around golf forever.
The thing you're
Went to
holding.
college, went to college for golf and everything too. So I mean, it's just been around forever. And
That's awesome.
uh, I've
That's
always
not
had for analytical stuff. So like with everything with golf, there's just so many numbers you can look at. So it's kind of like where I just, with legal gambling now, it's like that's where I've just like gotten into like rabbit holes, just looking at numbers and following statistics for these guys and stuff.
Yeah, well, the reason I ask is, I know some of these answers off camera, but to me, what's important is having somebody that's passionate about whatever they're talking about. And there's so many different things to choose from to entertain yourself. And if golf gets you going, and you can, because it is one of those sports where it's nonstop because there's so many golfers, there's so many things to look at. So I'm excited. In full disclosure, I was telling one of the clients yesterday that I was talking to, or the other day, after you and I did our podcast, and he's like, "Man, Ryan, you really should get some golf in your life. It changed my life." Blah blah blah. Like I've played, I think less than 5 rounds my whole life. Like it's just not. Always been busy and just I don't know. Feel like I haven't had a chance to sit and learn the sport. So this is gonna be a big change for me. And yeah, it's Easter Sunday. I didn't want to keep you too long, but I wanted to talk about. Obviously your thoughts for this morning. So you like Scheffler. We'll put it in we'll do a little write up so everybody can see it.
Yeah.
Next week on Wednesday, we'll do a preview. We'll do like kind of just like a quick hitter thing. Like I'll say a guy, you'll just give me your thoughts on him and your projections moving forward for the summer. Then we'll break down the Valero Open the same way we did the Houston Open. You'll give some thoughts on that. And then as we cruise into the Masters, it'll almost be like, in a way, you're like your test, right? I think everybody's like, all right, who's Colin? This is great. I'm going to bet the Masters. Colin better make me some money, or Ryan, can you find somebody else type of thing. So we'll see how we do.
And there's also a live golf tournament next week, which I'm probably going to be watching that a little bit
Oh,
more
good.
than even the PGA Tour. So, and then I kind of treat next week, this week too, so like a little bit, because a lot of the guys, I don't think Scheffler's playing next week in the Valero Open. So a lot of guys that didn't play this week are probably playing next week to lead up to the Masters. But it's always a litmus test for me to see where these guys are. Which another bet I would give out right now, because there's a boost on FanDuel for today. There's like a 25%, I think, boost for I guess I don't think it's a live bet, but I was looking through and I'm like, really, honest to God, everybody else that's up towards the leaderboard doesn't really, to me, I don't think they're going to actually make a charge. But Tony Finau played his worst round yesterday. He shot 2 over. My favorite thing is when somebody shoots like that, about one of the best players in the world, in my opinion, top 10, top 20, if they go +2, +3, and they play bad, the next day they're not going to do that, put it that way. So I'm like pretty confident for $10, I was looking at it. I'm like, you could put $10 in, $10 on him with a boost to win, because he's 2 shots back, and it's like to win 200. So I'm like, I'll post that on there just because I think for $10 with a boost, I'm like, that's definitely, in my opinion, if it's not Scotty, he's probably the only other person today that could go low.
The last point I want to touch on, because you mentioned it now a couple of times with the amount of money, just so everybody knows, there's 2 qualifications that I'm looking for people to come on here to help. One is you're betting so much money that you're spending so much time on it. So if you're betting a lot of money, chances are you should be spending a lot of time on it. And therefore, I'm open-minded to your process. The other qualification and the separate qualification is what Colin fits into, which is, Ryan, I'm not a big bettor. So like that's not what I'm going to come on here and talk about, but I feel like I'm an expert in one particular area. Right. So Colin's going to he has opinions on Clemson, Alabama, and the Yankees, Astros today, just like everybody else does. But I don't want to just put everybody's bets out, just put everybody's bets. So the qualifications I'm looking for is if you're betting a lot of money and you're like, hey, Ryan, I know what I'm doing. I can tell you, I can explain it to you, and I want to come on here and be the next guy that helps people make money on sports. Great. And what I'm usually more leaning and more open-minded to, frankly, because I don't think most people win betting on sports, right? So you're really going to have to prove that to me. And hell, I just went through a year of that. So Colin comes to me is like, yeah, I'm betting $10 here, $50 there, 100 if I'm really in the mood, but you don't have a passion for gambling, never has been a thing. So it's refreshing. And I think that way you're sober minded about how you're giving out your advice for golf, which everybody can take it for what it is. Like it's important for me to make sure that people know exactly who you are that's giving out the advice. So it's like, hey, is this guy betting $1,000 on the game? Is he watching it? What's his? So that's what today's designed to do. And we'll talk about it a little bit more leading up to the Masters. But what I'm confident about is you're trying your hardest. Like at the end of the day, you spend so much time on it. So like I said, the Masters will basically be a test, and I hope you have a good opinion. Hell, I really understand basketball, and this week was just a freaking, it's like literally the worst thing that could happen to me these past 3 days is say, you know what, we're going to rebrand. I'm going to try my best. And these games, the ball just won't bounce my way. So I'm hoping that you somewhat make up for it today with some good golf advice. And then moving forward, yeah, I think you're going to be greatly positioned. I'm excited to get to know you even more. And so you can help people figure out ways to handicap golf. And last point I want to make about it is I said it a few minutes ago, but yeah, if you're betting on sports, the less variables, the better. Like I would look at the Orioles today and I would look at the Orioles every day and say, which player do I think is going to have a good day? Let me analyze the pitcher, but trying to do like the over-unders yesterday with the Orioles, like you have to bet the over-under team runs. Like don't don't like be upset because Grayson pitched amazing, and now the sixth inning we look like the 27 Yankees. So I do think betting on golf is going to be very helpful, frankly, because you're able to say, "Hey, I'm just betting on one guy. I've watched him for 3 straight days." So I'm looking forward to your analysis moving forward. Really appreciate you. Is there anything else that is on your mind for today? You mentioned Finu. Is that how you say it? Finu?
Tony
Finau.
Finau.
Finau, you would expect to have a solid day. You expect Scheffler to pull away and win the tournament. You mentioned Wyatt. I'm trying to get there. What
Oh,
was
Wyndham Clark.
Wyndham Clark? We're gonna put all this out in a little message so people can look at it. Go ahead. You have a couple more minutes. If there's anything else that you wanted to say about tournament or just about yourself, go ahead.
No, I guess Orioles today. As a joke, I guess I feel yesterday I'm so mad just because Gunnar Henderson's my favorite player, like you were just joking about. I'm like, dude, he had a day yesterday, and I'm like, why did I not just, if you have that feeling, just do it, and don't do a crazy bet. Don't throw $100,000. You don't have to throw crazy money at it, but like $10 yesterday on something that you're confident on like that, kicking myself. So like today, Ryan Mountcastle, there you go. I'm like, that's where I'm like getting a feeling with him. So I'm like,
That's the thing. It's like
get
whatever.
that out of the
It doesn't
podcast.
have, yeah, it doesn't have to have a logic. And that's kind of what the new brand's going to be. It's just a matter of it's going to take me a minute or two. That's the only thing I'm frustrated about because I have the vision of having people on here. Sports should be enjoyable. Like as soon as you think you can make a lot of money doing this, you've really, I think you've lost yourself. Like you have to pick your spots. It can't be a volume better. The story I wanted to end with because Colin was like, "Man, you got to hear this story." So, and this is part of what is just unbelievable about sports betting and what goes on in your brain. So this guy yesterday apparently had a parlay. It's $5, you said, to win like $196,000. Like just something that you never think is going to happen because those 8 guys had to hit a home run. So of course the first 7 guys had a home run, and the last guy is probably the best player in baseball. You got Mookie Betts for the Dodgers, and they're not playing until the end of the night, and most teams have already finished. So he's like 7 for 7. And would you say 7th inning? Betts has already batted 4 times. He's only got 1 at bat left, and the guy cashes it out for 12 grand. Nice, that's amazing. And what do you think happens in the 8th inning? Right, of course the guy hits a home run and you lose 180 some. So you have to look at it. Did I lose 180 some $1,000, or did I win 184,000, or did I win 12,000? And the thing that I'm going to try to help people is if you think you're doing this for money, you're insane. Like if you're not working hard, if you think that you don't have to have a full-time job, it's insanity. It really is. Like unless you can spend every second of your life following these guys, we're betting on humans that we just don't know about, and there's too much guesswork. So the whole rebrand is going to be designed to bring people on like Colin, where we can give as best advice as possible. But the money management is what I'm going to be screaming about. I don't care if I sound like a wet blanket every day. The way that we were advertising betting beforehand is basically criminal. Like you can't do that. You're gonna spiral out of control. Like that's what happened. It happens to everybody. Like you can't bet like that. Period. You will go on streaks because it's probability, but you cannot bet that kind of volume. A, and be successful, and B, enjoy your life. So the whole rebrand is going to be designed that way. Just please be patient with me as I make sure that the right people come on. So hope everybody has a great Easter Sunday. I'm going to do my best here. Jesus, I feel like a broken record trying to get these 2 basketball games right. Oh man, I will write the write up.
Yeah, what are you feeling today for these games today, by the way?
Goodness gracious. So the NC State I've been right about, feeling like, they were the right side of it, and Marquette let me down with the total. So it was like, I look at that game, I feel like it's too many points, but I would like to go back and watch the NC State Duke game from the ACC championship. So I feel that harder. I have less of opinion about that game than I do about the Tennessee Purdue game, because I think Purdue, it's just too much for Tennessee. The way Tennessee matches up with Purdue, I don't think they'll be able to handle them inside. So I do like Purdue. I'll dive into it a little bit more and see exactly what the final picks come. But first thoughts are I do like Purdue in the second game. Feels like too many points, but at the same time, I do want to go back and watch the last time they played.
Yeah, Duke reminds me. I mean, they can be like Alabama like last night. They can just go on a tear with threes. But NC State, I don't know. I kind of want to see it. I don't want to bet it, but I'm like I want to see it so bad just because I think that would be it would be a great story. But it's that's gonna be. I think that's the tougher game to pick right there is to actually go against the team as hot as NC State right now is tough. I'm like
What
that's
I
just
learned
a
from what I learned from yesterday is like these games they're just so emotional that the best move, and that's why I came on here and said I don't feel like I was wrong about Clemson. I feel like I was wrong about not hedging for Alabama at some point in the game because Clemson did play the way I expected them to play. And that's why it turned into a 50-50 game, right? 79-75. The game's basically tied as far as the spread is, and then the kid makes the three. So yeah, it just is what it is as far as you don't want to be in a 50-50 situation. Like you want to be in a situation where you had the Orioles over team runs yesterday. That wasn't in doubt, right? So it is what it is. But no matter what, we're going to come on here and be honest. There's no excuses. I just like to talk about what I should have, not like, oh, this guy should have made the shot, but hey, after the game ended, what could I have learned from it? And it's like, man, if you get a big lead today, so that's what I'll be watching for. And maybe instead of betting Purdue, like that's my first thought is like, would it shock me if Tennessee got off to a fast start? No. Like they could be up 9-3, 9-4, and then maybe instead of giving 3 or 3.5 points, I'm getting a point. So those are things, but that's also like it's Easter Sunday, dude. I just want to make a bet and just watch the game. So there's so many ways to do it, which gets back to bet an amount of money that you're comfortable losing. At the end of the day, assume that it's going to go into the trash, and that way you can enjoy it. And if you really want to learn the right way of doing it, you're going to have to spend the time, frankly, and then do individual bets. Like that's why
yeah.
they'll shut up and we'll get out of here. But if you really want to handicap the Orioles the right way, go like you have a feeling Mountcastle, there's no logic behind it. Like if you want to go look at his statistics against this pitcher and that pitcher and get into the weeds of it, go for it. But a lot of times it's easier to just watch the games and say, you know what, I'm going to just put 20 bucks on it, have fun, and just let it go and save that big, large wager for something that's better in life. Like it's just not worth it at the end of the day. That's what this new company is going to be focused on. And all right, thanks, Colin. Sorry,
Yeah.
guys, for ranting. It's just frustrating this Clemson game. I really wanted to come on here and shut up and talk about golf, but I feel like I have to address the Clemson game because it just is what
No,
it is.
I bet on it too, and I couldn't believe it when I heard it last night because it was so true. I mean, those guys in the pregame said it, and I was like, I can't believe it's they free throw to free throw line. They said this game is going to be played between the free throw lines, and I'm like, Clemson's going to build a wall around that 3-point line, which they did for the start of the game, and then it came down, and I'm like, they were just raining threes, and I'm like, I watched enough Alabama basketball to know that that was always could have happened, but I mean, the way Clemson played recently and the free throws are what was just insane. Like down the stretch, missing the free throws. I
Mm-hmm.
felt so bad for PJ Hall. I'm like, I definitely watched a lot of Clemson game, and I mean, I'm a Clemson football fan too, so I mean, I by default do bet on or just root for them all the time in basketball. And I was just like, they had a great senior team, and that just like
So,
killed me so much. Like just knowing those guys, it's like I don't. And it's a joke, I guess, to Alabama. They're like, everybody's like, I bet, all these guys are going in the NBA on Alabama, and the rest of the guys on Clemson, are going
right,
so
they're
much
not
credit.
NBA
That whole
players.
joke. So it's like it just feels it's so emotional, like you said. It's like I think of it, it's just so emotional for these guys. It's the last time they're going to be playing competitive basketball at that level, and it's like it's all done and over, and you're that close. So it's like the emotion side of things. I mean, that's such a hard thing to like have to wage or even just throw into the mix of everything. So,
Yeah,
but
that's what makes sports fun. That's why as long as the money doesn't hurt, you can appreciate it at the end. So, all right,
oh yeah,
Colin, you are the man. Can't thank you enough. It's been great. I will see you Wednesday. We'll do the break. Like I said, Wednesday we'll do. It'll be a longer form podcast where you basically educate me and everybody else here on the golfers, like your preview, some guys that you think are overrated, underrated. Then we'll do some specific bets for the Valero Open, and then we'll cruise into the Masters, and that'll be your test. Everybody's going to take your bets for the Masters, so pressure will be on. Hope everybody has a great day. I'm going to remain positive about everything. So if you guys have any questions, please, I know there's random messages that go out. And look, at the end of the day, if you want to talk to me, I'm available to talk, but I'm not going to sit here and have long-winded statements about things that frankly aren't worth my energy, and it's probably not worth any of your guys' energy. So if you
No.
have any specific questions for me, I'm available, but I really don't want to talk about that kind of stuff on the podcast. So looking forward to hopping on tomorrow and talking baseball and figuring out how we're going to make this company profitable and helpful for everybody. So
Yeah.
you're a man, Colin. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome.
I shall see you guys tomorrow.